In the middle of a packed Manhattan boardroom, a powerful CEO stood frozen, her world crumbling in front of her employees. Her 7-year-old son, who had never spoken a single word, was melting down on the cold marble floor, screaming, thrashing, tears streaming down his face while the entire executive team stared in awkward silence. She had offered $750,000 to anyone who could calm him. Specialists, therapists, even her own security team had tried and failed. Then a quiet black janitor set down his mop, walked over, sat on the floor beside the boy, and whispered one single word. What happened next brought the whole room to tears. If this story touches your heart, take a second to hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. It helps this channel, Whispers of Heart 0.2, reach more people who need stories like this. Now let's go back to that moment. Her name was Claire Harrington. She ran one of the largest tech firms on the East Coast. Glass offices, sharp suits, meetings that decided the fate of millions of dollars before lunch. But none of that mattered the day her son, Ethan, came to work with her. Ethan was nonverbal. Doctors had given it different labels over the years: severe autism spectrum, selective mutism, sensory processing challenges, but labels never calmed a child who felt the world too loud and too bright. Claire had built her empire while carrying the quiet ache of never hearing her own son call her Mom. That morning the building's elevators were under maintenance, so the usual quiet floor was flooded with people. The fluorescent lights hummed. Phones rang. Someone dropped a stack of folders. Ethan's small hands flew to his ears. His body rocked. Then the screaming started. Pure, raw panic. Claire dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around him, whispering the soft songs that sometimes worked at home. Nothing. The security guards hovered. An intern offered juice. A junior executive tried to distract him with a tablet. The noise only grew. Claire's voice cracked when she stood up. I'll give $750,000 to whoever can help my son right now. Cash. Today. The room went still. People looked at each other. No one moved. Money could buy experts, but in that moment it bought only silence. In the back corner, near the supply closet, a man in a faded gray uniform paused. His name was Marcus. He had worked nights and early mornings in that building for 11 years. Most executives never learned his last name. He emptied trash, mopped floors, fixed the coffee machines that always jammed. Marcus had a soft way of moving, the kind that didn't demand attention. He watched the boy for a long minute. Then he set his mop against the wall, walked slowly across the marble, and sat down cross-legged a few feet from Ethan. Claire started to protest. Marcus held up one gentle hand. He didn't look at the mother or the executives. He looked only at the child. Ethan's cries were still sharp, his body still rigid. Marcus leaned in just a little and whispered one word. Safe. That was all. Soft. Steady. Like a promise. Ethan's rocking slowed. His hands stayed over his ears, but the screaming dropped to a whimper. Marcus didn't reach for him. He simply stayed. Breathing slow. Present. After another long moment he whispered it again. Safe. Something shifted. Ethan's shoulders lowered. His eyes, usually darting away from faces, flicked toward the man on the floor. Marcus smiled a tiny smile, the kind that didn't ask for anything back. He began to hum, a low, wordless tune his own grandmother used to hum on the porch in Georgia when thunderstorms rolled in. No one else in the room knew the song. Ethan seemed to recognize the feeling of it. Minutes passed. The executives stayed frozen. Claire's makeup had run. She watched her son's body unclench for the first time in an hour. Marcus kept humming, occasionally adding that same quiet word. Safe. When Ethan finally crawled closer, Marcus didn't pull him in. He simply made space on the floor beside him. Ethan leaned against the janitor's side, exhausted, and closed his eyes. The boardroom remained silent except for the soft sound of a child breathing easier. Claire sank down beside them, tears falling freely now. She didn't speak. She just watched this stranger who had offered nothing but presence and one carefully chosen word. Later, when Ethan was calm enough to go home with his mother, Claire tried to press a check into Marcus's hand. He shook his head. "I didn't do it for money," he said. "My little brother was like him. Never spoke much either. What he needed most days wasn't fixing. Just someone who stayed close and let him know the world wasn't trying to hurt him." Claire insisted. Marcus still refused the full amount. In the end he accepted enough to cover his mother's medical bills and a small college fund he was building for his niece. The rest, he said, should go toward programs that help kids like Ethan feel less alone in loud places. Claire made sure that happened. She also made sure Marcus never cleaned another floor in that building alone. Within a month he was running a quiet sensory room on the ground floor, soft lights, weighted blankets, a place any employee's child could go when the world got too sharp. He still wore the same gray uniform some days, but people finally knew his name. Years later, Ethan still doesn't speak many words. But he signs safe when the lights are too bright. And every time Claire sees that small gesture, she remembers a man who never needed a title or a corner office to change a life. He just needed the courage to sit down on a hard floor and offer kindness without an audience or a price tag. Kindness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like a janitor setting down his mop. Sometimes it sounds like one whispered word that cuts through panic. In a country that moves fast and measures success in numbers, we can forget how much power lives in simply staying present with someone who is hurting. Marcus didn't solve every challenge Ethan faced. He didn't claim to. He just made the moment bearable. And that was enough to open a door. We all have those moments. A stranger struggling with bags at the grocery store. A coworker who looks like they haven't slept. A child covering their ears in a loud restaurant. We can walk past, or we can sit down, literally or figuratively, and offer what we have. It might be a word. It might be silence. It might be the simple decision not to look away. The next time the world feels too loud for someone near you, remember the boardroom that went quiet because one man chose kindness over indifference. You don't need $750,000. You don't need a title. You only need the willingness to show up and stay. That is how ordinary people change ordinary days into something worth remembering. That is how a single whispered word can echo farther than any speech ever could. Go out and be that person for someone. The world is waiting.